The next topic that I wanted to discuss, I've already showed you in a sense here where I created these black spots. Keep in mind, I do not do this on every sketch. This is just a technique to explore and learn about so that if you want to use it while you're out sketching, you can. For the rest of this video, I'm going to be using the Ink R2 roller pens. I like the feel of them, I like the flow of ink, I like the 0.7 tip. So that's what I'm going to be using for the rest of my demonstration. I want to explain to you what I'm doing here. I call this creating a palette when I draw this black circle, because it reminds me of squeezing paint out of a tube on a spot on your palette. And it doesn't have to be a circle. You can make it a square, a triangle, whatever shape you want. You don't even have to have a shape. Well, everything has a shape, but you don't have to be concerned about the shape. The shape is not the point of it here. Right? Look at that. That's what I call demo of a palette. I should put ink palette here. Okay, so let's spritz this. Give it a nice, ooh, look at that, yummy. Let's come down here and let's just look at that. We can do any tone that we want here. We can do light tones. You're going to hear me using my dryer a lot. I want to dry this. And then I can come back over that light tone and keep building it to get a darker tone. How fun is that? You can bring some down here, spread it out, take your towel, handy towel, and wipe away and get just a little lighter. A little lighter tone down here. See, look, that's very light. So that's what I call a palette, an ink palette. I want to show you over here. I'm going to also draw a line here. I'm going to do some line studies. In fact, let's just do my line studies. I'll come back to this page, use it for something else. I'm going to do some line studies. Lines. Use my Ink R2 pen to draw a really thick, and I should say wide. When I say thick, a wide line. I'm going to put lots of ink on it. And right next to it, I'm going to make maybe half as wide. Maybe not quite as much ink. I got ink on there, but I'm really putting it on here. And maybe a medium-sized line, and then a very, very light line with no pressure at all. And what we're going to do is just spritz that. Look at the bleed, look at the flow. Immediate bleed, lots of flow. You can take your pad, and if you're into mixed media, depending on what you're doing, I don't know if I do this with sketching as much, but this tends to bleed a lot. So let's say bleeds with water spritz. Nice bleeding. Very nice. But what if you don't want that? You know, you can't, there's no control of where that water goes and where the ink goes. So let's do the same thing over here. Nice wide line with lots of dark ink on there. Another line, maybe not quite as wide. ink on there, but maybe not quite as much. I mean, I really put a lot of ink on there. And then maybe just a regular writing line, and then a very light line, very little pressure. Now, all of these lines have the same tone of ink. It's all the black ink. It isn't the color of the ink that's causing the difference in the lines. It's how wide you make them and how much ink you put on there. Now I'm going to take and I'm going to call this my water palette, where I just put water on the page. And I do this a lot in urban sketching. There's no ink, there's nothing but water on there. I'm going to dip my brush. Let's make sure my brush is clean, reasonably clean. I'm going to dip my brush in that spot of water, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to smooth out those lines with my brush. Because this water is soluble, you do not get that same uncontrolled spritz, which is nice, by the way, but it's a different technique. Over here you are controlling the value of the inks and where that goes. Come over here, do it again. I call this a controlled bleed, because your brush is controlling it. Dip it in my wet palette. It's very nice. This is a little bit thicker, and then this is the very light line here. So if you're looking for a little bit more precision and not so much pop, you want to go with what I call the controlled bleed. I'm going to write controlled bleed here. Anyway, this is my thought. And I use these techniques when I'm out sketching. I don't say, okay, I'm going to use controlled bleed to do this. I say, I want to sketch this line, but I don't want the ink to go all over the place, so I'm going to wet my paper over here. And, you know, that's my thought process. I'm going to put wet palette here. I'm just going to kind of draw a circle around this and put wet palette. And then I'm going to blot this water because it's running all over the page. In fact, let's blot this too, just to dry it off. And you can see that it stays quite a bit over there. I've done this whole demo and that still had ink on it. So I wanted to do the line demo. Now let's flip to the next page. There's lots of fun. I'm going to do what I call how thick that paper is. I like this paper. I'm going to get more of this. Mixed Media Vellum Coated 400 series.